Interesting. I'm not sure why that always replays. A little countdown there. Dusty here with Straight Talk Schools. Today's Friday, 10 a.m. If you're watching this outside of our membership group, every now and then we'll go ahead and push this out to the other platforms. And we will go ahead. Oh, there we go. Got this on the other screen here. Looks like we were doubling up on our sound. Every now and then we'll push this out to the other platforms just so you guys can see what we do. Every Friday we do a office hours for up to an hour. We talk about a topic for about 10 or 15, maybe 20 minutes and educate you a bit on different topics depending on what people want to learn. And the goal of that is so that people can join us. They can ask questions. There's time for people to kind of join us. It's not just a bunch of dead air. It's just sitting here, right? And then at the end of the day, if we don't have any questions, we go ahead and log off. But today, I thought we would talk about a project I was working on this morning, so I figured I would talk about that today. If you have any questions, whether it's on the topic or if it's on something else, just let me know. Let me see, I got the comments pulled up here. And today we're going to talk about the exchange buyer. So I have an exchange buyer. He's got about 3.2 million, and we're working on getting him into his replacement property. And so today we'll talk a little bit about red flags that you can see when you're doing this, what you should expect with your clients and how to kind of manage them, and how to handle things from start to close. And I wanted to talk a little bit, let's see here, about buyers, right? So don't just take every single buyer that pops up. Okay, that can be tempting. Say a guy, someone says, I've got, $5 million. I want to place it somewhere. They could be unrealistic. You need to vet them out, make sure that they are realistic. And secondly, what you always want to do is use the three property rule, whether it's a buyer or a seller. I always use the three property rule. And first, let's talk about vetting buyers. A lot of them will say, hey, yeah, I just want a good deal. Same thing with sellers. Yeah, bring me an offer. I just want a good offer. And what does that mean? Exactly. They don't know. Okay. So that can be a really big waste of time if you just take a buyer who just wants a good deal and you start bringing them things and they don't actually know specifically what they want. They're just going to turn everything down and you'll just spin your wheels. Another buyer could say, hey, I've got a certain amount of money. I'd like to place it into a certain type of property, well-positioned strip center. And I'd like to achieve an 8% cash on cash return or better, right? So my return after my debt service over time, how could I achieve that? That one is much more well-positioned to be a reasonable buyer and know if what you've shown them meets their criteria. Okay, and of course, get them in front of a lender before you proceed with a buyer who has to have a loan, because what you need to do is be pre-qualified really before you start looking for stuff. And if you're doing this in residential, you probably know that very well. Three property rule. Here's what we do. I'll show you how this works, but I have three properties in front of the buyer at all times. Now they're either going to disqualify them or they're going to consider, offering on them. Okay. But they're going to tell me exactly what they hate about the properties. That's the most important thing for me is what do you not like about everything I'm sending you? And what this does is it keeps us focused on the goal of buying a property, especially replacing a property. This also helps you keep a lot of the, you can go snowblind, right? So do you like this property? No. Do you like this property? No. And then, 10 properties down the line, they're like, hey, what about that other one? And everyone can get confused about the different offerings. So what you want to do, get in front of three properties, decide if they want them. If they don't want them, why? And then just keep cycling it through. So you could have one that's under letter of intent, but you've got two others that you're kind of cycling through and disqualifying constantly, right? Until it gets a contract and closes. You're always going to keep three in front of them. Here's what that might look like. Right? I've got a calculator that I use. If you're not a member and you'd like to have this, go ahead and join us at straighttalkacademy.com. We provide this and all kinds of stuff. Everything I use in my brokerage is provided on the tools and resources. We have over 50 classes. And then again, we do these office hours every single Friday. So what I'll usually do is I'll say, hey, here's your subject property, right? Here's the price you have. Here's how much equity you have. Here's the income, so they can see what their monthly and annual true net income is. This happens to be a net lease property, so there are no expenses, but this will help them identify very clearly what my actual income is. I have a listing I'm just taken right now that they are not quite sure, I think, what their actual expenses are. As we bring offers to them, it's going to become a lot more clear that they could replace their income very easily if they were a bit more reasonable in their pricing. But this helps them line this up against other properties, right? So I have 3 here. These are the actual properties we're going after. We're actually going after this one in Texas. We've got a letter of intent out for this one. And my calculator here, what it'll do is let's do a drop down where we're at with everything. So as we move from looking for property to we're in contract, we can see where we're at in the process and keep everything in front of us. And again, focus back on what is the income that you're replacing, not how much money is the property that you're looking at or what the return is. I want to know that I can replace the income stream. So that's how I usually handle things. We also had 2 others here. And you can see down at the bottom here, it blocked that out. At the bottom here, I've got the cash that they have to invest so that we can see if we've got money left over or if we need to come up with more money. So you can see here on this dental office, he's going to have to come up with another $22,000 if he went after this on top of the money he has. These other 2, this one obviously is only $800,000, so he's got about 2.4 left over here. Which wouldn't, of course, be quite enough for this one. You can see, so we can start to compare. Like if we were to take these 2 down, he's probably going to have, if you would compare 611 to 799, he's going to have 180 or so thousand extra to come to the table if you were to pay asking price for these 2. But then he can kind of compare, okay, if I add these 2 numbers together, what would be my monthly income? What would be my annual income? And that helps us stay in front of what they really want, and it helps avoid if they're confused, they'll just say no, right? Helps keep them focused. I also have a boot calculator here. We look here, we're our offer, and then we see how much boot is going to cost, right? So it's not the 3.2, maybe it's 3 million. I just did this as an example. We can estimate the taxes that they'll have to pay so they can decide if they truly want to do that. And here's what that looks like in email form. So you can't really see that super well. But what I'll do is I'll take that calculator. I'll also send an email with each property with all of the highlights on it. And you can see there it's got the blue link there. I do a video on Loom too, just a short video because some people don't like to read. So I'll say, here's property 1. Here's all the details about it. Bing, bing, bing. Here's my notes on it. What's good, what's bad. I send them a video on it, and off we go. Same thing with 2, same thing with 3. And then they can say, I don't like 1 because of this, right? Or 2 or 3, or maybe we could combine 2 and 3, but I don't like the price. And then we can have a real conversation. Now, we are sending a letter of intent to that option 1. Okay, so let me pull this over. The dental office. So what I want to talk about is once you do start to look at these, you're going to get the deal story from the agent, and you'll find there's possibly some red flags, things you want to look into. So let's scroll up here. So let's see if I can find. Right. So as it turns out, this one is at the very end of its lease. Okay, so there's only 5 at this point, 4 or 5 years left on the total lease. So there's no more options to extend. So what my concern would be is, why is the owner selling this right now if they've been there for so long? Because obviously he has to sell at a discounted price in order to make that happen. This is a 200 unit operator, and he's selling it at a 6.75 cap rate, which is very high for this market. Second question is, what is the condition of the building? Okay, so it's a net lease in this instance, but at the end of 5 years, 4 years, if the tenant leaves, we're going to have to figure out who to release it to and how much money we need to spend on that. So we will be doing a property condition assessment. We will have some questions for the ownership on why are you selling? Why don't you renegotiate a lease? I also found out from the deal story that the owner actually had them exercise their last option, which is what we're in right now, early. Right, you can see there it says 5.36 years left on lease. They exercised their lease option early in exchange for 4 months of free rent. Why did he have to do that? Okay, so these are some red flags that should pop up. Why would he want to do that instead of wait until they exercise that option? Well, it could be because he thinks they're going to leave or they're not doing so well. So these are some red flags that pop up. We still offered on it. We want to take a closer look, but we've got a long due diligence period, and we are very clear with them on our concerns, right? So I'm not going to hide some of this from the other side. I'm going to say, look, I'm concerned about this and this and this. Therefore, my price is going to reflect that unless you can help me be more comfortable. So hopefully that has helped. And that's really the basics of it. There's nothing magical. Keep 3 properties in front of them. Here's how I introduce them with an email here. Here's how we track them on this chart. You could have something as simple as a Word document that you track things on. I enjoy Excel. Again, if you want any of these calculators, we're at straighttalkacademy.com. Let me hear. There you go. Just go ahead and hop on there. Cheap monthly fee. You can probably go on there and then take all of our stuff and cancel if you wanted to. Honestly, it doesn't matter. But hopefully this has helped you understand a bit about how we manage our buyer clients and manage them through their exchange process to close. Another point here is the subject asset that they're exchanging out of that has not closed yet as of now. It closes in about a week. Okay, so when that happens, that 45-day ticker starts going. We want to have a good idea about where we want to go at that time. So that could be these letters of intent going out. We might even be going into contract once something closes. But we really want to have a good idea because, if 2 weeks down the line, we decide this one's not for us, now you're down, 30 days left all of a sudden, right? And then the weekend eats up another couple days, and now it's 25 days left. So you really only have a couple chances on an exchange during that ID period to see what you want. So don't run it up against the clock. Start early, and make sure you're also keeping the client aware of those time frames as well. Let's see here. That's it for me. Let me check here. I don't see any questions, guys. I got 10:15 my time. I'm going to wait a couple minutes here, see if any questions pop up. But again, if we don't have any questions, there's no reason for us to have a bunch of dead air. So I'm going to get another cup of coffee. I will be right back. All right, I've gotten another cup of coffee here. I don't see any more questions or any questions. So if you're watching this after the fact and you do have questions, whether it's on this or something else, just let us know in the comments. Even if it's on these other platforms, that's fine. We'll answer them there. If you want to join us again, it's at straighttalkacademy.com. We do this every Friday. We will see you next week. If you are one of our members and you want to talk about a certain topic, let us know. We've helped plenty of students do all kinds of stuff, even close some big deals recently. Let us know. Talk soon.